Hey you guys, my name is Miriam Strauss. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about money making and money saving tips. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the cost of buying a home in Israel. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because the cost to buy a home in Israel is quite different from buying a home in many other countries. So if you have been curious about buying a home in Israel, you're definitely going to want to watch this video because it's going to go into all the different costs that a lot of people don't talk about. So item number one is the purchase price. Now, the purchase prices are going to be on average pretty high in Israel, especially if you're going to be purchasing a home in one of the major city areas, close to Jerusalem, close to Tel Aviv. If you're going to be living somewhere a little bit out of the, center of Israel, you can get better prices on your homes. But in general, real estate is relatively high when compared to like real estate in America. So you're definitely going to be like at par with costs you'll pay in America depending on like center city, how popular the city is, etc. But obviously salaries are not as high here as they are in America. So there's much more of a gap and a discrepancy between, costs of a home and people's salaries. In Israel, for your first time home, you have to put a minimum of 25% of the value of the home for your first time home. And then for any home after your first time home in Israel, you're putting 40% at minimum down as a down payment up front, which is just crazy when you compare that to America, where you can get like your first time home for like 3% down, or it's pretty common for people to put at most like 20% down on their first time home if they're not paying all cash. So Israel is quite different because the minimum a first-time home buyer needs to put down is 25%. They're doing so on lower wages most of the time, unless they're like a foreign person buying here. And they also, have to pay a higher percentage down. And on top of that, interest rates currently in Israel are slightly above what they are in America. And actually, by law in Israel, the maximum mortgage that a bank can give you is 75% of the value of a home. And typically it'll actually be 60% of the value of a home. So that's actually by law. Like they can't give you more than that. Now, you can take out a personal loan for an additional 10% of the value of the property. That would obviously get you to a point where you're taking like 85% out in loans, but you might want to look into further about those personal loans and what are the policies surrounding them and what are the terms and conditions relating to them. Another big difference is that in America, you pay tax when you sell a home, right? When you realize the monetary value of the equity you hold in a home, you sell the home, you get cash, you pay taxes on that sale. But in Israel, you actually pay tax both on selling a home and on buying a home. So when you buy the home, you're paying purchase tax, and the seller is simultaneously paying their own sales tax, right? So both of those parties are paying a tax, which is different than it is in some other places like in America. Now, purchase tax is calculated according to brackets. So if you're a first-time home buyer, the first 1.7 million in shekel, not dollar, is tax-free. But then beyond that, you have different brackets. These are rough numbers, I'm rounding up, but roughly you're gonna pay 3.5% tax, anywhere from the 1.7 million shekel to the 2 million shekel range. Then on anything over 5.3 million shekel, you're gonna pay roughly 8% tax, or just over 8% tax. And then if you're fortunate enough to afford a home that is above 17.8 million shekel, you're going to be paying like a 10% tax. So as a new OLEH, you're going to pay 0.5% on anything up to 1.8 million shekel, and then 5% tax on anything over 1.8 million. Now, similar to other places, your real estate agent is going to take a fee that's going to be between 1.5 to 2% of the total property value. And then they add VAT to that as well, which is value added tax. So then your legal fees are going to cost you about 0.5% to 1.5% of the purchase price. And then there's VAT added to that as well. However, you should note that if you're buying from a developer, the legal costs are going to be passed through to you differently. You're going to help chip into the developer's legal costs instead. And that can be anywhere up to 5,000 shekel. Then you're going to want to do an inspection on the property, of course, before you close, and that's going to be anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 shekel plus VAT. And then as well, something that's unique to Israel is a mortgage fee. So in addition to taking out the mortgage and the interest that you're charged on the mortgage, you also have to pay like what the bank refers to as a mortgage fee, which is essentially a fee for like opening your file. So they take an extra quarter or 0.5% of the purchase price just as a flat rate fee that they charge you for like opening your file, or like as a mortgage fee, and what they refer to it as. Also, what the bank can do is, in addition to obviously the inspection, they're going to want you to get an appraisal most of the time. So they're going to make you pay for that appraisal as well. And that appraiser is going to charge you anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 shekel plus VAT. Then you have registration and title transfer costs and different administrative costs associated with that, which will run you anywhere up to about 1,000 shekels, so that's not too much. Then if you're going to be pulling your money out from overseas, you're going to have to deal with currency transfer fees. Wire transfer into Israel might cost you bank fees here, etc. So those are all things to bear in mind as well if you're using foreign currency. Then, of course, you're going to have to get homeowners insurance. That, of course, is going to be an added expense. It's also important to note that homeowners insurance might cover different things in Israel than what is traditionally covered in other places like in America. Then, of course, you have moving costs, obviously getting all your stuff into the home. So you're going to pay for movers, you're going to pay the cost of moving and the cost of new furniture and setting up your home and all of that. So those are added costs, which are going to be entirely unique and individual. But movers alone can cost you anywhere from 3,000 to 15,000 shekel, or like moving costs generally are estimated to be between 3,000 and 15,000 shekel, not including obviously your furnishings, which are going to be, based on your own personal taste and budget range. If you're going to be someone who is moving here from America and bringing furnishings over from America, you also have the cost of like your shipping container that you'll be bringing over from America. And although you do get to bring those things tax-free into Israel, you do have to pay the cost of the shipping container, which can be several thousands of US dollars. And then last but not least, if you are purchasing a new build, there's going to be additional costs you have to pay for, such as utility hookups, because utility hookups do not come automatic in brand new builds, air conditioning or central air or any of that. That is something you're going to have to pay for, and that can cost you anywhere up to 10,000 shekel. On any of the items where I've said they add VAT to the fee, like the legal fees or, the appraisal fees or things like that where you add VAT, you should just bear in mind that VAT is going to be 17% based on, current rates. So it is an extra 17% on top of that service provider's standard fee. So those are all of the various costs that you're going to want to think about when you're budgeting for your home and purchasing a home in Israel. So do bear all of that in mind. There's definitely some costs on that list that are different than what you would expect in other countries. And if you want to improve your financial stability in the interim while you're saving for your down payment on that home that's going to cost you a lot more, you'll definitely want to check out my link down below in my description for Webull. If you download Webull through that link, you'll get one free stock when you sign up and another free stock when you deposit your first deposit of $100 or more. And if you start to invest through Webull while you're setting aside money for a down payment on a home, you'll be able to grow your money slowly over time a little bit more quickly and get to your down payment goal a little bit more quickly over time if you have a couple of years to like set that money aside before you're going to be buying your home instantly. So definitely do think of that as a strategy to help grow your money a little bit more quickly and reach your goal a little bit more sooner in life. With that all being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Even if you don't do anything else, just give it a thumbs up. That means the world to me, and it really, really helps my channel so much. I cannot explain to you how much it means to me. If you wanted to subscribe as well, you certainly should, because I would love to have you as a subscriber, and feel free to join the Strauss house. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.